Hi, welcome to Regenerative Voices, Elevating Stories, Activating Change. I'm your host, Selene Diaris, the founder and executive director of At the Epicenter. And with me today is Dr. Luc Maes. Sorry.
Okay.
It's M-A-E-S. That's not a natural word to say, but he's actually from Belgium. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Nice. So Dr. Luc is the co-founder of Kaibe and also a practicing naturopath based in Santa Barbara, California. I'm really excited to have this conversation today with you. I think it's going to be very interesting for people to learn about the work that you're doing and what has informed that work, and just the passion that you're bringing to making a difference.
Yeah.
So why don't we start with a little bit about you and your journey as a naturopathic physician, and also you've studied homeopathy, and you have a tremendously impressive group of healers that you have learned from over the years. So share a little bit about that, and then kind of how has that inspired your moving into using plants for health and food and vitality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mean, I grew up in Belgium. My dad was in the field. I grew up with natural medicine. So it was very common when we were sick to use plants and get an adjustment when we were sick. And so it kind of shaped the way I grew up. I also have an intense love for nature and plants and animals, and naturopathic medicine was the perfect way to practice what I've always loved, including all this wonderful work that I grew up with. So I did my pre-med in London, in Great Britain. Then I did my chiropractic degree in National College of Chiropractic in Chicago. Meanwhile, I had the privilege or the opportunity to study with numerous leaders in the field, both for clinical nutrition, functional medicine, classical homeopathy, and continue to do so for the past 25 years. Then I advanced my education for naturopathic medicine at the National College for Naturopathic Medicine in Portland, Oregon. It's been an amazing journey, and it is an amazing 25 years that I've been working with children and families, including naturopathic medicine in their self-care.
Awesome. And so, as a doctor, obviously also a naturopath who tends to work with a variety of plant and more naturalistic healing approaches. Obviously, this has probably been in your radar for quite some time, especially with homeopathy, which I don't know if everyone understands what homeopathy is, but I think it's an extraordinarily powerful healing opportunity that isn't that well understood in the West.
Yes, I mean, in Europe, classical homeopathy is often you'll see a medical doctor using both allopathy and homeopathy. It's commonly practiced in India, Great Britain, and throughout Europe. So for me, growing up as a kid, that was the medicine that I knew. And I used to be a very allergic child, and remembering how that homeopathy made a difference for me, that really drove me to learn more about this medicine. So I had the opportunity to study with great leaders from India, from here in the US, great mentors. And so homeopathy has been a very important part of my practice because it allowed me to understand my patients at the deepest level. Understanding the mental, emotional, and physical limitations that changes in people's health accompany. And throughout my practice, I've integrated classical homeopathy and then addressed the biochemistry that actually changes when we're under stress or when we're ill. Our cells talk a different language when we're healthy because we're being, they change the way they communicate. So that's where biochemistry comes in. That's where food comes in. That's where, naturopathic medicine at the core, 70% of our immune system is wrapped around the gut. Now with more and more research coming out on the importance of probiotics and prebiotics and the microbiome in the gut and the skin, it's something that I'm now seeing in even regular physicians that are embracing and recognizing the need to include these observations or the new research that we need to preserve biodiversity inside and out.
Right, absolutely. Well said. And it's very relevant when we move into talking about how your journey has really expanded into working with bringing plant-based healthy nutrition into the Western market. When I think about soil and gut, I'm very often sharing with people that as we're understanding the gut biome, we need to recognize that the same is true for soil. It is a biome also, and it is as similar to the human gut that as you can imagine, just given the diversity of living microorganisms and their whole symbiotic cooperation to create health in soil. If for plants, that's what's happening in our gut for our human health. And some of these things are living beings that are operating in our bodies to support us to be healthy humans.
Yeah, I mean, it's all about communication, connection. If there's if you're connected to your environment, if you connect with the organisms that live around you. I mean, we're even learning that changes in gut health affect mood. So everything is about preserving communication, connection, biodiversity. And so on my path to research plants and nature and how it impacts our health, kind of has gotten me to where I am today with Kaibe, recognizing that biodiversity is essential to preserving our environment and essential to preserving our health. And yeah, it's a really exciting place to be right now.
Well, I'm particularly inspired by this terminology that you all have been using called lost crops. And then connecting, and we'll get into the Baobab tree, which grows in the savanna, and Ghana is where you all are working, but it grows in the African savanna. The pictures I've been looking at of this tree are stunning. It is massive. It is such a grandmother tree. You can feel her potency, her ancientness, her deep wisdom, her just extraordinary purposefulness. Mm-hmm. And when you start to tell us about, this fruit that hangs on these long tendrils off the tree, like this kind of a pod looking fruit, that it contains all of this nutrient value for anyone who has the good fortune to consume it. It really does deserve the name, the Tree of Life.
Correct. I mean, about 8 years ago, I've been doing research and I've been traveling to South America and Central America and Africa and Europe and studying the traditional uses of plants. And I've been fortunate to be able to do that. But for some reason, that tree sort of called my name about 8 years ago. I don't know how that works, but I was motivated to actually go to Africa and learn about the tree. At first, I was purely fascinated with the biochemistry and how can this benefit my patients. I was looking for something that could address the gut, the prebiotic benefits, that was nutrient rich, and that also could address blood sugar. So for some reason, I came across this tree and was drawn to learn more and more about its traditional uses and its history and the environment that it grows in. And I was, for some reason, drawn to connect and touch the tree and see in what way I can make a difference. On my journey, I connected with an amazing man, Tom Cole, who's now my partner. He's a humanitarian and a specialist in agricultural development in Africa, who actually lives 5 minutes away, and I connected with through Google of all things. Thank you.
That's a great story. You have to say that little bit about how you did that Google search and discovered this person right in your backyard.
Yeah, I was getting desperate. I'm like, I have to go to Africa. How can I get to Africa? So my family's in the natural products industry in Europe, and he had some connection there. And he's like, my dad's like, well, call him up, see, maybe he knows a tree. So he heard of the tree, never harvested before, but knew it grew way up north in Ghana. And then, okay, now I knew I have somebody that knows about the tree. Now, how am I going to get there? So one day, out of desperation, I plugged in Santa Barbara, Africa in Google, and here pops up Tom's name. And out of his resume, he looked like he was a professor emeritus, you know, amazing resume. So
I love it.
I didn't hear back from him for like 3 weeks. And suddenly I get a phone call. Hi, this is Tom. I'm in between trips from Ethiopia, and I'm flying to Rwanda next week. And he's like, can we connect? So I met him. When I showed him the Baobab, his eyes just opened up. He's like,
Wow.
I love that tree. And right there and then we connected. And he was really wanted to understand what my goals were, what I wanted to learn. And it gradually shaped Kaibe into who we are today, identifying natural resources that grow in abundance, undervalued for their health, economic, and environmental importance, and connecting these communities to the market and providing this amazing ingredient with prebiotic and low glycemic benefits to the consumer here in the US.
I love that sort of angle of looking at something that is in abundance and that is undervalued.
Correct.
I think that is a huge opportunity for so many things on earth right now, that we've commoditized a very small number of things and are trying to make everything out of those things. And through that commoditizing of those few things, we've also done extraordinary and horrific damage.
Correct.
To ecosystems, biodiversity, and also just the biodiversity of life itself, the diversity of plants in our diets, et cetera, et cetera. We could talk about that for hours, actually, of how detrimental that has become for health in all spectrums, from land to water to human to animal to plant health.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
I mean, here, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask you to share more about, I'm personally very curious about your first meeting with this tree, and what was that like for you to witness her and her grandeur in place, and the people who have been, connecting with this tree for a long, long time.
It's giving me the chills right now just thinking about it. It was really exciting. I mean, driving up to these remote regions where these trees just appear in this very arid area where agriculture is very challenging, poverty is widespread, and to connect and learn from the people, the elders, the importance of this tree. Actually, the Baobab is considered a sacred tree in that region. And you can find it at the center of every single little community, every single little village has a Baobab.
Wow.
It's their meeting place. But at the same time, the fruit has lost its use. They still use the Baobab fruit powder and the leaves in their daily dishes, but markedly reduced. And they are more fascinated with the plastic packaged foods that come in that appear to be better than what they have. And but connecting with the communities for me was truly, I don't know, it touched me very to the heart. And that's why I called Kaibe Kaibe. Kaibe means bonjour, shalom, how are you in Kusal. It's the language of the communities I work with. We had a different name before. And I just remember the people lining up and yelling, Kaibe, Kaibe, Kaibe. And that excitement just left me, that word, Kaibe, is just brings me back to the first time when I connected.
Oh, wow. Okay. I love that. So Kaibe is actually a greeting.
Yes, it means
a
hello.
Warm greeting, a friendly, a heartful greeting.
Correct. It's hello, how are you? Are you well?
Oh, nice. Beautiful. I love that. I didn't know that about the where the word had come from.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, that's where Kaibe takes me. And I can't wait. We're going back now in February, and I can't wait to connect again and meet them all. It's just we've had a very exciting journey the past 8 years. Always wish it'd go faster, but it's very rewarding to see the impact I'm making in that region.
Well, I think there's some videos that I've been watching about the story of your journey there and the people, and just seeing the dancing and the conversations with the elders. I loved there's one piece in the story where there's this older man sitting under the tree, and there's a piece of fabric wrapped around the tree, and the young man says, why is that there? And he goes, well, it's her adornment, it's her clothing. She's asked to be dressed, and this is how we dress her. I love that.
Yeah, we need to clothe the tree like we do ourselves.
Yes, yes.
I mean, for me, it's symbolic. It's like we got to take care of what we have. These ancient trees.
So true.
We can't lose them. And for us at Kaibe, over the time, we're learning that by adding economic value to these trees, to the fruit, that they will not be chopped down for one day firewood, or they will not be, or sometimes we're losing some of these groves to new buildings. So the importance for what we're doing right now, the Baobab sort of opened up the door to recognizing that there's plenty of these plants out there that are essential to their specific ecosystem, and by adding economic value to them, that we can preserve them.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So that's kind of like the Baobab.
That's why she called you.
Voila. I mean, not to sound esoteric, but that's.
Oh, I love esoteric.
Sort of, I feel like the tree kind of like opened up a door to a whole new universe that now is proving to be a reality, that we have to save these trees, and this is a way to do it.
Well, it's a self-preservation outreach to find someone out there who would help protect their longevity, since they have already been here for some of those trees have to be close to 1,000 years old.
Oh yeah, definitely. And so it takes these trees a while to produce fruit. And what's exciting to see now, the communities are actually planting the trees, because now they realize, hey, you know what? This fruit that hangs above my head can make me income, can help me greater access to healthcare and education. So yeah, I can't wait to see where the trees are at right now, since we last visited. But at the same time, we're able to do it in a way that we are not extracting, that we are not damaging the trees, that we're not taken away from the communities. And thanks to Tom's expertise with his background in agriculture, we're able to do it the best way we can, in the most ethical and without stressing the environment, without stressing the communities. And for me, that's really, really, really important.
It is very important, and it's such an important business model for others to understand is replicable and vital for a more regenerative economic strategy, where we're not being extractive, we're being more symbiotic with a living system. We're caretaking that system while it's caretaking us.
Correct. I love that word, symbiosis. To live together as one.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yes.
I mean, right now, Kaibe is really getting more and more recognition for our commitment to preserving biodiversity, and that's really exciting as a small company. I have companies now that love what we do and want to support us.
Well, I'm excited that we're having this conversation, and I had a couple of questions. I noticed, in the let's talk a little bit about the manufacturing or the processing of going from these fruits that come off the tree. What happens next, and who's doing that processing for you?
So we built a processing center in remote northern Ghana that's organically certified. Every year we're being audited to make sure that we are harvesting in the right ways. The communities are educated on how to participate in this activity. So what's unique about the baobab is that the fruit powder dries in the pod. The pods turn brown when they're ready to harvest. They're transported whole to our processing facility where they're cracked and roughly processed. So and then they're shipped to the US. And they are, I would say, when it comes in the US, it goes to a facility that basically is FDA approved, GMP certified, and everything's tested and milled to spec and ensure that we meet all the parameters for the food and beverage industry and the cosmetic industry as well. And then we sell, so there's two branches to Kaibe. We sell to the ingredients, which allows us to support the communities in the way we can. And then we have the Kaibe Wellness brand. But so it's roughly processed in our processing center. What I love, another thing I really love is that 85% of the people that we work with are women, and it's equal pay. So we're being very progressive in remote North Carolina. And I have an amazing guy on the ground. I have a whole story around him. Sule was a young man, 4 children, underpaid, and but spoke English and Hausa and totally motivated. We started his company, helped him build his company, and now he manages all the processing, all the certifications, and we add more communities every year. He manages the trainings. So I am very lucky to have such an amazing guy on the ground who is managing Kaibe in Ghana right now.
That's exciting. You had mentioned him to me when we had spoken previously, with such love, truly, for
he
him.
He got his MBA. Can you believe that?
That's awesome.
I thought I was putting 2 kids through school. I actually put 3 kids through school. No. That's my joke. But I mean, he was able to advance his education with our support. And just recently, this summer, he's like, "Hey, Luke, look at this. I got my MBA." And so while doing all this amazing work and having a great team on the ground, he was able to advance his education. And he's getting recognition by other companies now for his work. And so, yeah, it's trickling down everywhere. I mean, another thing I want to share to you is I was going to buy these expensive machines to help with the processing at the processing center. And Suli was like, "Luke, send me a picture. Let me look at them." So he took them to local engineers who actually built the machines for much less expensive, and they're able to do the same thing, same quality. And even the blacksmith now has tools that they built to be more efficient at their harvest. So it's not only the ladies that help us with the processing, but now the blacksmith and the engineers now have extra income from this supply chain that we've created.
That's wonderful. Well, this is, for one of the motivations in having a conversation with you is really to share that this type of production where you discover a plant, a resource in an area that is struggling, that has a lot of a lack of opportunity, and that this creates a whole new economic opportunity in a very impoverished part of Ghana. And it's not exploitive. It's actually, you guys are setting up a higher standard of how you compensate people fairly and appropriately for their efforts so that their lives actually get better. I applaud you and your wife and Tom for this shared vision and just the integrity with which you're doing it. It's very inspiring.
Thank you. So we've taken this model now to other regions. I mean, Tom, his expertise is permaculture in post-conflict regions of Africa and helping people grow food throughout the year. So now, so the Kaibe Wellness brand is all about rewilding, to rewild the gut and to rewild the skin microbiome with these wild plants. So we're learning that the biome is compromised when we live in the city. So our model is to go back to the wild and find what we've lost, and using Baobab as an ingestible and integrating in these formulas, using the topical plants, we are reactivating, rewilding the biome inside and out. And that has taken us to identify more plants that have these amazing benefits. And this opportunity to improve social good and the environment has taken us to northern Uganda to support women's groups there. Has taken us to Zanzibar to support the seaweed mamas who harvest seaweed. Kappa ficus has all unique benefits. And it also has taken me to Colombia to help with cacai, which was a tree that was growing in the region Cacayal in Colombian Amazon that was getting lost to deforestation, and now support this guy's mission to preserve the trees, plant the trees, and capture the oil benefit in our skincare products and the food benefit of the nut in our ingestibles. So we continue to identify these amazing plants that Baobab introduced us to.
That's wonderful. So Zanzibar is seaweed. Colombia is the cacai.
Cacai, yeah, Cariodendron orinosense.
Oh yeah, I'm not going to say that.
It's the cacai, yeah.
The cacai, and
yeah,
it's a nut.
It's a nut, yeah. It's called the Amazon almond. It has a nut that's 3 times the protein content of the almonds that we are commonly used to here in the US. So very nutrient rich. And imagine if we lose this amazing tree, and it tastes great. So it produces a beautiful protein powder. And then the oil is rich in retinol, 3-5 times greater than evening primrose oil. So nature has some amazing plants out there that we need to preserve. And,
of course. I mean, if you think about how humans have evolved on this planet, for the majority of the time we've existed, we were benefiting from everything around us until we sort of shifted into agricultural practices. And then we started to really lessen the diversity of what we were consuming. And also, we also started to impact the natural world a lot more. But I think that's one of the more exciting opportunities, is how much is in the kind of Garden of Eden of the planet Earth for our shared well-being. And it's just a huge opportunity. I know like the folks who did acai were similarly inspired, and the folks doing guayaki were similarly inspired. And Runa was another company similarly, inspired to preserve something that existed in a native ecosystem and to provide an economic opportunity in those communities. And it's just something I'd love to see much more replicated throughout the world.
I mean, you look what Patagonia is doing now too, Patagonia Provisions. I mean, we have gained recognition from them, which is for me a huge step forward. For us, I mean, it's a dream. I look up to them. They're my model. And just developing quality ingredients that, have a strong backbone and are serious about what we're doing. I mean, all those companies, they're all doing amazing work, and I love to be recognized to be part of all of them. It's very rewarding to be in that place.
Absolutely. And I agree, Patagonia is such a leader in so many ways, and we're very grateful at the Epicenter to have enjoyed their support for many years in doing the work that we do. And I'm just going to take a quick break to remind everyone they're listening to Regenerative Voices, Elevating Stories, Activating Change. I'm speaking with Dr. Luc Maes. And say it again?
Maes.
Maes.
Okay.
I'm just not going to get that right for some reason. And I'm Celine Diaris, your host. I'd like to talk a little bit about go back to the Baobab, and if you would share a little bit about what you've uncovered in terms of all of the different health benefits and what you're using from the plant. You mentioned that it matures on the tree, and when it turns brown, it's ready to be harvested.
Yeah.
And so what's inside of that pod that is being made into something good for us?
It looks a bit like a meringue. It's like it's this pulp that wraps around the seeds. And so we mechanically separate the seeds from this pulp. And the pulp is then milled into this fine, great tasting powder here in the US. The seeds are pressed for oil. And so the oil is used in the cosmetic industry. Beautiful, rich, well-absorbing oil. And golden yellow, beautiful. And the seed, we use the leftover of the pressing. We mill it and dry it and to spec for scrubs, for skincare. We also sell it to some other companies that are making extracts out of the seeds specifically because it's high in protein. There's these little fibers, funicles. I mistakenly called them furuncles somewhere, but they're funicles. And they are these red, wiry elements within the fruit that connect everything together, and they're equally nutrient rich, very high in antioxidants. So we're maximizing the use of everything in the fruit. Nothing goes to waste. And we're keeping the shell and in the communities, and it helps with firewood and all that. So our goal is to maximize the use of the fruit. And
so it sounds like it's a zero waste.
We're doing our best, yes, to use everything we can. And the powder itself, what fascinated me was the fiber, the prebiotic benefit. It's high in pectin, and it benefits the growth of numerous organisms in the gut. And then the low glycemic part too. So it's been shown that when you add baobab fruit powder to foods, that the glycemic response is improved. And in addition, it's very high in vitamin C, one of the most antioxidant-rich fruits we know, and also contains calcium, magnesium, and potassium in great amounts. And on top of all that, it tastes really nice. And whenever we do demos, it's the children that convince the parents to buy it. It tastes, my wife calls it a pixie stick meets a sweet tart. I didn't have those in Belgium, but that's how she compares them. It has a sweet tart flavor that's really, I love it. And it's not overpowering.
Nice. I actually mixed it in a drink yesterday, and I really liked it. It was I used like unsweetened coconut milk and the baobab powder and some cacao and cinnamon and cardamom, and buzzed it up in my blender. It was quite delicious.
That's a serious blend there. Yeah,
yes.
I drink it straight in water. I mean, I discovered it in a jam over the holidays. My kids made a great tasting jam with it.
Really?
Yeah, it was wonderful. And then we made a chia coconut baobab pudding that was excellent. So what I love about it is that you can add these benefits in many different ways and without it being overpowering. And it's a wonderful ingredient. People use it for its health benefits, but also for its binding benefits because of the pectin. It's a nice thickener. So I really, it's a great ingredient.
That's wonderful. As we kind of come close to a closing time, I wanted to just ask you, what's next? What's on the horizon for you?
For us, for Kaibe, for a small company, we've basically have grown our company based on ingredient sales, and now are supplying in increasing amounts many companies within the industry, food, beverage, cosmetic. And meanwhile, it's given us the time to develop the Kaibe Wellness brand. This year, we're introducing microbiome mist. We're introducing we have a beautiful face oil that we've created with all these different plants, oils. We are introducing another ingestible with prebiotics, probiotics, with baobab at the core. So we're slowly building our Kaibe Wellness brand. we're bootstrapping. So we're, things always go slower, but I've learned a lot. And so Baobab continues to grow. Prebiotic trend is huge. And as a result, I think Baobab is perfectly positioned for that. I'm actually traveling back now to Ghana. There's a couple more trees that I'm studying, and now I'm going to meet with communities to see the opportunity if we can work with them and support this specific region in Ghana. We also have a small budding opportunity in Kenya. So we continue to see in what way we can scale and benefit the community and bring great quality ingredients to the market. So that's we hope to how do you call it? Continue what we're doing. We're on a good track. I'm excited.
Continue to grow and to prosper and to help others prosper along with you.
Yeah, very rewarding.
I want to also just briefly ask about the packaging design. I will try to figure out how to get a picture of that up in this video.
Want me to? Here, I'll show you.
Oh, do you have some with you? Beautiful. I love the packaging.
Thank you.
It's absolutely beautiful. And I'm curious, is that your wife's handiwork or?
No. We work with an amazing individual, Clive Percy, in Santa Monica, who unfortunately now passed away. He was an amazing individual. And we asked him to make it colorful. We asked him to make it sing and dance, just like the film. And the color of all the places that we go to. And he did an amazing job at bringing that into our packaging.
He did.
And still kept it modern. And so, yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's been,
I hope you never repackage or redesign, because to me, it's so vital and vibrant. It kind of feels like the spirit of the place that it comes from, that richness, that vibrancy. And when I saw it, and thank you for the gift of products, just the whole grouping, I just was so enchanted by.
Thank you very much. In addition, we're doing, when it looks, we're looking at how can we best package. It's very challenging to find packaging that also preserve your products well and is good for the environment. So that's still something that we're working on. For our skincare products, we're committed to not using any plastic and emphasizing dry beauty, meaning shipping less water. So I'm studying everything from source to end and how we can not only have packaging that is pleasing to the eye, but also serve its purpose without damaging the environment.
Wonderful. These, it's again, I feel like I'm a little bit of a broken record, but I again think it's such an opportunity for those who are in the business world to look at this whole, to me, when you talk about what you're looking at, you're being holistic. You're looking at things from a holistic frame. You're thinking about the variety of impacts. You have goals around what you'd like to achieve. And you're holding that as part of the whole ecosystem within your company. It doesn't mean that you're going to hit every single objective, but the fact that it's in your pantheon, that it matters, and that you're striving to achieve your highest level of positive effect and impact. Mm-hmm. It's just, to me, very important to be ideas that are emulated by others.
For me, I feel like what I'm doing, and I've been doing my practice, is looking at the whole patient. I'm looking at the whole from beginning to end. So yes, holistic and is definitely a good description for what we're doing. And and biodiversity is at the core.
Well, it's interesting that you just kind of recircled back to the foundation of your journey, which has been as a naturopathic physician who you've studied homeopathy. All of these things are very much in that realm of a holistic framework for what constitutes true health and how do we get to a level of equilibrium and balance in our bodies so that our bodies can do what they're designed to do, which is achieve balance and harmony.
Correct. We've drifted away so far from nature that we need to bring it with us and stay connected. I mean, we're learning that it's really important to connect with nature on a daily basis, and that's very, very important for me. I'm lucky to live here in Santa Barbara, to be able to walk in the hills and enjoy the ocean, but recommend people to connect with nature as much as you can.
Absolutely. I live in a more urban setting, but I keep water out year round for the birds and have a bird feeder. And so we see so many different types of birds coming through our yard. We hear an owl at night hooting. It just, I agree with you, to reconnect with nature, even if it's just a walk in a park, that's a living ecosystem that will nourish us always.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I am so grateful for our time together, and I deeply appreciate you for participating in the Regenerative Voices podcast series. And I'm excited to continue to follow your journey and how things progress. I imagine we'll be able to have another conversation in the not too distant future and learn of some new amazing plant and community that you are bringing into the Kaibe family.
Great. Thank you very much. This was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Take good care.
Bye.
The Regenerative Voices Elevating Stories, Activating Change podcast series is produced by At the Epicenter, a 501c3 nonprofit organization. The podcast and video recordings are made possible by the generous support of people like you. Make a tax-deductible donation or sign up as a monthly supporter by visiting attheepicenter.com/donate. Support packages start at $1 per month. The podcast series is also sponsored by several corporate and organization sponsors. To become a podcast sponsor, visit attheepicenter.com/contact to let us know of your interest. If you found this podcast episode insightful and meaningful, please pass it on by sharing it with a friend or colleague who will also enjoy it. Thank you for tuning in, for your support, and for activating change.